The massive alien ship Nexus Prime moved silently through the dark space near Earth's moon. Commander Zeth Ka stood on the bridge, his tall blue form studying the small blue planet through the viewing screen. His large black eyes reflected years of experience exploring the galaxy and meeting new species. "Commander, we are detecting more radio signals from the planet," said Dr. Nix Rowe, her crystalline body sparkling as she worked at her station. The humans seemed to communicate constantly. Captain Vorth, a thick-skinned Thraxian warrior, growled softly. "All species communicate. What makes these humans special?" Zeth Ka turned his attention to the data flowing across the screens. For 3 months, they had been watching Earth from a safe distance. The Galactic Council had sent them to study this new species before making first contact. What they had learned puzzled them greatly. Humans were strange creatures. They fought wars over small pieces of land, yet they also sent aid to help strangers in distant places. They created beautiful art and music, but they also built terrible weapons. They seemed to love and hate with equal passion. No species the Council had ever met was so contradictory. "Look at this," Dr. Nix Rowe said, pointing to her screen. "In one part of their planet, humans are fighting a war. In another part, they are working together to save animals from dying out. In a third place, they are sending ships to explore space, even though they barely have the technology to leave their own planet." Zeth Ka nodded slowly. "They are either very brave or very foolish. Perhaps both," Captain Vorth said. "My people have a saying, courage and stupidity often look the same from a distance." The bridge fell quiet as they continued to watch the humans. On their screens, they could see the International Space Station orbiting Earth. Small human ships moved back and forth, carrying supplies and people. It was a peaceful scene, but Zeth Ka knew that peace could change quickly. "Commander," Dr. Nix Rowe said, "I believe we have learned enough. The Council protocols say we should make peaceful contact now." Zeth Ka considered this. Every species they had met before had reacted to first contact in predictable ways. Some were afraid at first, but quickly became friendly when they realized the aliens meant no harm. Others were excited to meet beings from other worlds. A few were suspicious, but they always came around once they saw the benefits of joining the Galactic Council. "Very well," Zeth Ka said. "Move us closer to their space station. We will make contact with their orbital facility first. It should be less frightening than appearing over one of their cities." The Nexus Prime began moving toward Earth. As they got closer, Captain Vorth checked his weapon systems out of habit. "All defensive systems ready, Commander, though I doubt we will need them. No species has ever attacked us during first contact," Dr. Nix Rowe agreed. "Even the most primitive worlds understand that we come in peace when they see our ships." Near Earth, Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison was finishing his shift aboard the Earth vessel UES Defiance. The ship was part of Earth's small but growing space defense network. Jake had been watching the stars for 5 years, and he had never seen anything unusual. Most people thought his job was boring, but Jake loved being in space. "Morrison, you getting this on sensors?" called his communications officer, Petty Officer Linda Gray. Jake looked at his screen and froze. A massive object was moving toward them from the direction of the moon. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built, and it was clearly not from Earth. "Sound General Quarters," Jake ordered, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "All hands to battle stations." Alarms began ringing throughout the ship. Jake opened a channel to Earth's Defense Command. "Control, this is Defiance. We have an unknown contact approaching from lunar orbit. Size estimate, over 2 kilometers long." On Earth, Captain Lisa Bennett was just sitting down to dinner when her emergency communicator buzzed. As the commanding officer of the Earth Defense Network, she was always on call. She looked at the message and immediately stood up. "All stations, this is Bennett," she said into her communicator. "We have a Code 1 situation. Unknown alien vessel approaching Earth space. All ships move to defensive positions immediately." Back on the Defiance, Jake watched the alien ship getting closer. He had dreamed of this moment since he was a child, but now that it was happening, he felt only fear. The ship was so large it could probably destroy every human vessel in space without effort. "Sir, they're sending some kind of signal," Linda reported. "It's not in any language our computers recognize." "Keep trying to translate it," Jake ordered. "And charge all weapons. If they wanted to talk, they would have sent a message from farther away." On the Nexus Prime, Dr. Nixrow was working frantically at her translation computer. "Commander, their language is very complex. I can send basic, peaceful greetings, but I cannot explain who we are or why we are here." "Send what you can," Zethka ordered. "They need to know we mean no harm." The message that reached the Defiance was broken and unclear. Linda frowned as she listened to the translation computer trying to make sense of it. "Sir, I'm getting something. About compliance and surrender and submit to authority." It doesn't sound friendly. Jake felt his blood run cold. "Are they demanding our surrender?" "That's what it sounds like, sir." Jake opened another channel to Earth. "Control. The aliens are demanding we surrender, requesting permission to defend ourselves." Captain Bennett's voice came back immediately. "Permission granted, Defiance. Protect yourself and Earth." Jake turned to his weapons officer. "Target their weapon systems. Fire warning shots first." The first energy beams from the Defiance were meant to miss the alien ship, but they came close enough to show that humans could fight back. On the Nexus Prime, Captain Vorth stared at his screens in shock. "Commander, they are firing at us," he said, unable to believe what he was seeing. "A species that barely has space travel is attacking us." "Impossible," Dr. Nixrow said. "No species attacks during first contact. They must be afraid." "Afraid or not, they are shooting at us," Vorth growled. "I recommend we defend ourselves." More human ships were arriving. The small Earth fleet was no match for the alien vessel, but they kept fighting anyway. Jake watched. As the aliens returned fire, their weapons far more powerful than anything humans had. 2 Earth ships were damaged badly, but they did not retreat. "Why don't they run?" Captain Vorth asked, confused. "They cannot win this fight." Zethka was equally puzzled. In all his years, he had never seen a species fight against impossible odds unless they were already at war. These humans had just met them, but they fought like they were defending their children. "Retreat," Zethka ordered finally. "We need to report this to the Council." As the Nexus Prime pulled back, Jake and his crew watched the massive ship disappear into the darkness. They had survived first contact, but Jake had a terrible feeling that this was only the beginning. On the alien ship, Commander Zethka was already composing his report to the Galactic Council. A species that responded to peaceful contact with violence was dangerous beyond measure. In his report, he would recommend that Earth be destroyed before these aggressive humans could spread to other worlds. Neither side understood what had really happened that day, but both knew that everything had changed forever. 3 months after the first contact disaster, the massive space station Harmony floated in the neutral zone between 12 different star systems. The station was home to the Galactic Council, where representatives from across the galaxy made decisions that affected billions of lives. Today, they were deciding the fate of humanity. Commander Zethka stood before the Great Assembly Hall, his blue skin pale with worry. Around him sat delegates from 12 species, each more advanced than the humans by thousands of years. The air in the chamber felt heavy with the weight of the decision they were about to make. High Counselor Methzar, the eldest of the Valerian Empire, spoke first. His voice carried the authority of someone who had lived for over 3 centuries. "Commander Zethka, tell us again what happened when you attempted peaceful contact with these humans." Zethka straightened his shoulders. "Honored Counselor, we followed standard first contact procedures. We approached their orbital station slowly and transmitted peaceful greetings. Instead of responding with curiosity or even fear, they immediately opened fire on our ship." A murmur ran through the assembly. Delegate Fluxanne of the gentle Aquarian worlds raised one of her tentacles. Perhaps there was a misunderstanding in translation. Our Dr. Nixrow is the finest linguist in the fleet, Zethka replied. She clearly communicated our peaceful intentions. The humans chose violence. High Counselor Methzar nodded grimly. In our long history, no species has ever attacked during first contact unless they were already a warlike race. The protocols are clear. Any species that responds to peace with violence must be eliminated before they can spread their aggression to other worlds. Far away on Earth, Admiral Noah Carter was having the worst 3 months of his career. As head of Earth's United Defense Force, he had spent every day since first contact preparing for what everyone knew was coming. The aliens would return, and next time, they would not be interested in talking. "Admiral, we're getting more signal intercepts from the edge of the solar system," reported Dr. Helen Rodriguez, Earth's leading expert on alien technology. "The translation computers are getting better at understanding their language." Noah looked at the data on his screen. Even with improved translation, most of the alien messages were still unclear, but some words were becoming familiar. Threat, elimination, planetary sterilization, and council approval. "They're planning to destroy us," Noah said quietly. "The whole planet." Helen nodded sadly. "It looks that way. From what we can understand, they think we're too dangerous to live." President Amanda Stone was in her Situation Room when Noah's report arrived. Around the table sat the leaders of every major nation on Earth. For the first time in human history, there was no argument about what needed to be done. The threat was too great for politics. "General Robert Hayes, what's our military situation?" the president asked. The old soldier shook his head. "Ma'am, we have maybe 200 ships that can fight in space. Based on our encounter 3 months ago, the aliens have technology that's centuries ahead of ours. In a straight fight, we'll last maybe an hour. Then we don't fight straight," said Director Carl Mitchell of the Global Intelligence Agency. "We've been studying the wreckage from their ship that got damaged. Their technology is advanced, but it's not magic. We can learn from it." Back on Harmony Station, the debate continued. Delegate Flux Ann was still trying to save humanity. "Honored counselors, perhaps we should study these humans more before we act. Yes, they attacked us, but they are still a young species. Maybe they can learn." Captain Vorth, who had traveled to the station to give his report, stood up. "Delegate Flux Ann, I was there. I saw how they fought. They kept attacking even when they knew they could not win. That is not the behavior of a species that can be reasoned with." "But consider this," Flux Ann argued. "They were protecting their home. Perhaps any species would fight to defend their world." High Counselor Methzar raised his hand for silence. "The Aquarian delegate makes an interesting point. However, we have contacted 47 species over the centuries. When faced with superior technology, every other species either surrendered immediately or fled. These humans did neither. They chose to fight a battle they could not win." Dr. Nixrow, who had been quiet during the debate, finally spoke. "Honored counselors, I have been studying the radio transmissions from Earth since our encounter. The humans are unusual." "In what way?" asked Counselor Tekra of the Silicon Collective. "They appear to be unifying," Dr. Nixrow said. "Before our contact, their planet was divided into hundreds of different political groups, many of which were hostile to each other. But since our encounter, those divisions are disappearing. They are working together in ways we have never seen." This caused another stir in the assembly. High Counselor Methzar leaned forward. "Explain." "On most worlds, the threat of superior force causes chaos and panic," Dr. Nixrow continued. "Groups blame each other, governments collapse, and the species tears itself apart before we even need to act. But these humans are doing the opposite. The threat has made them stronger and more united," Captain Vorth growled. "That makes them even more dangerous." "Or more interesting," Flux Ann said hopefully. Meanwhile, on Earth, Something remarkable was happening. Countries that had been enemies for decades were sharing military technology. Scientists from around the world were working together on projects that would have been impossible just months before. Old grudges were forgotten in the face of a threat that could end human civilization. In a laboratory in Colorado, Dr. Karen White was working with pieces of alien metal that had been recovered from the battle. "This material is incredible," she told her international team of researchers. "It's stronger than anything we've ever seen, but it's also flexible. If we can figure out how to make it, we could build ships that are much tougher than what we have now." In Russia, Colonel Steve Martinez was training with pilots from 12 different countries. They were learning to fly together in ways that had never been tried before. "The aliens think in straight lines," he told his students. "They expect us to fight the way they fight, but we're not going to do that. We're going to be unpredictable." Back on Harmony Station, the debate was reaching its conclusion. High Counselor Methzar stood to address the assembly. "We have heard all arguments. The evidence is clear. These humans are unlike any species we have encountered. They respond to superior force not with submission or chaos, but with increased resistance and unity." The hall fell silent as the ancient Valerian continued. "Such a species represents a threat to the natural order of the galaxy. If they develop space travel, they could spread their violent nature to other worlds. They could upset the peace we have maintained for millennia." Delegate Fluxan made one last attempt. "Honored Counselor, perhaps we could try to communicate with them again. Maybe we could teach them peaceful ways." "The time for communication has passed," Methzar replied. "They had their chance for peace and chose war. The Council will vote on the recommendation for planetary sterilization." One by one, the delegates cast their votes. The Silicon Collective voted for elimination. The Thraxian Empire voted for elimination. The Crystalline Confederacy voted for elimination. Only the Aquarians voted against. "The motion passes," High Counselor Methzar announced. "The human species is declared a threat to galactic peace. Fleet Admiral Kron Dar will prepare the sterilization fleet. We will give the humans one chance to surrender completely. If they refuse, their planet will be cleansed." As the council session ended, a message was prepared for transmission to Earth. It was simple and direct. "People of Earth, you have shown yourselves to be a violent and dangerous species. You will surrender your planet and submit to Galactic Council authority, or you will be destroyed. You have 7 of your days to decide." When the message reached Earth, President Stone read it to a joint session of every world leader. The response was immediate and unanimous. General Hayes stood up and spoke for all humanity. "Tell them we choose to fight." The die was cast, and both sides knew that only one species would survive what was coming. The first alien attack came exactly 7 days after the ultimatum expired. Fleet Admiral Krondar led 50 warships into Earth's solar system, expecting the humans to surrender as soon as they saw the massive fleet. Instead, every human ship in space moved to intercept them, even though they were outnumbered 10-1. "Begin the standard conquest protocol," Admiral Krondar ordered from his flagship. "Destroy their military installations first, then target their major cities. They will surrender once they see our power." The alien weapons were devastatingly effective. The first salvo destroyed 3 human military bases and damaged the orbital defense platforms. But instead of the panic and surrender the aliens expected, something else happened. More human ships appeared from everywhere, including converted civilian vessels that had been hastily armed. Colonel Steve Martinez was flying a modified cargo ship when the attack began. His small squadron was supposed to be no match for the alien destroyers. But Steve had been planning this moment for months. "Remember what we practiced," he told his pilots. "Don't fight them like they expect. Be unpredictable." The human ships scattered in all directions, using tactics that made no sense to the alien commanders. Some ships flew directly at the alien vessels, forcing them to waste powerful weapons on single targets. Others hid behind asteroids and attacked when the aliens weren't looking. A few even pretended to be damaged and drifting, then attacked when the aliens came close. On the alien flagship, Captain Zorth was confused. "Admiral, these humans are not following any known military doctrine. Their attacks serve no strategic purpose." Admiral Krone Dar studied the tactical display. "They are desperate. Continue the bombardment. They will break soon." But the humans did not break. When the aliens destroyed the military base on Luna, the surviving defenders continued fighting from the wreckage. When they damaged the space elevator, human engineers began repairs immediately, even while the battle continued around them. Dr. Karen White was working in an underground laboratory when the first bombs hit her city. The building shook, and half her equipment was destroyed. But she kept working. "If we can reverse engineer their shield technology, we might have a chance," she told her team as explosions echoed above them. Her assistant, Dr. Mark Johnson, looked at the alien metal samples they had been studying. "Karen, the building could collapse any minute. Maybe we should evacuate." "Where would we go?" Karen asked, not looking up from her work. "This is our planet. If we don't stop them here, there won't be anywhere safe to run to." Back on the Nexus, Prime, Dr. Nix Rowe, was monitoring human communications with growing amazement. "Commander Zeth Ka, you need to see this. The humans are not reacting the way any species should." Zeth Ka looked at the data flowing across her screens. "What do you mean?" "Look at their radio transmissions," Dr. Nix Rowe said. "We have destroyed several of their cities and killed millions of their people. But instead of calls for surrender, we are seeing increased coordination between their remaining forces. They are adapting to our weapons in real time." "That is impossible," Zeth Ka said. "No species can adapt that quickly to superior technology." "The humans are doing it anyway," Dr. Nix Rowe replied. "And there is something else. Their casualties seem to make them fight harder, not softer. It is the opposite of what should happen." On Earth, Captain Ben Parker was coordinating resistance efforts from a hidden command bunker. His city had been bombed 3 times, but the resistance cells he commanded kept growing stronger. Every attack created more humans who had nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. "Sir, we've lost contact with the northern sector," reported Lieutenant Amy Clark. "Then we fight without them," Ben replied. "Send word to all cells. Continue operations regardless of losses. Every minute we delay them is another minute for our scientists to find a way to win this." The aliens had expected the war to last maybe a week. Instead, it dragged on for months. Every day brought new surprises as humans found ways to turn their weaknesses into strengths. They used their smaller size to hide in places the aliens couldn't follow. They modified civilian technology into weapons that the aliens didn't see coming. Most importantly, they never stopped believing they could win. Dr. Nix Rowe had been studying captured human prisoners for weeks, trying to understand what made them different. The results puzzled her greatly. "Commander, I have completed my analysis of the human psychological structure." "What did you find?" Zeth Ka asked. "They are not like any species we have encountered," Dr. Nix Rowe said. "Most species have 1 or 2 primary survival drives. Humans appear to have dozens of overlapping psychological mechanisms that activate under extreme stress." "Explain in simple terms," Zeth Ka requested. "When most species face impossible odds, their survival instincts tell them to surrender or flee. Human survival instincts tell them to fight harder. They seem to actually gain strength from suffering." This was demonstrated when Sergeant Chris Johnson was captured during a raid on an alien supply depot. The aliens used interrogation techniques that had broken every other species they had encountered. But Chris seemed to get more defiant the worse his treatment became. "Tell us where your hidden bases are," demanded the alien interrogator. Chris just smiled, despite his injuries. "I've got a better idea. Why don't you tell me when you're planning to give up and go home?" The interrogator was baffled. "You are beaten. Your planet is being destroyed. Why do you not surrender?" "Because this is our home," Chris said simply. "And we don't give up on our home." Captain Vorth was having similar experiences with other prisoners. Commander, these humans are either insane or they possess a form of courage we have never encountered. They refuse to accept defeat even when defeat is obvious. Meanwhile, the human resistance was achieving impossible victories. Engineer Nicole Thompson had figured out how to overload alien power systems using modified human electronics. Her devices were crude compared to alien technology, but they worked because the aliens hadn't designed their systems to defend against such primitive attacks. It's like fighting someone with a stick when you're wearing high-tech armor, she explained to her team. The armor is designed to stop energy weapons and projectiles, but nobody thought about a simple wooden stick finding the gaps. The war continued, and both sides were learning hard lessons. The aliens discovered that superior technology didn't guarantee victory if your enemy refused to quit. The humans learned that they could endure anything as long as they had something worth fighting for. Dr. Nix Rowe made another disturbing discovery when she analyzed human behavior patterns. Commander, I believe I understand why the humans fight the way they do. Tell me, Zethka said. They do not fight to win in the way we understand winning. They fight because fighting is meaningful to them. They find purpose in the struggle itself, regardless of the outcome. Zethka was quiet for a long moment. Are you saying they fight, even when they know they cannot win? I am saying they fight especially when they know they cannot win. It is the most alien thing about them. This revelation would change everything, but neither side knew it yet. The war was far from over, and the hardest lessons were still to come. 6 months into the war that was supposed to last 1 week, High Counselor Methzar stood before the Galactic Council Assembly with news that none of them wanted to hear. The human resistance was not only continuing, but actually growing stronger. The Council had lost more ships to humanity than they had lost in their previous 3 conquests combined. How is this possible? Demanded Counselor Tekra of the Silicon Collective. We have destroyed half their cities and most of their military installations. They should have surrendered months ago. Fleet Admiral Krondar appeared on the main screen from his flagship. His usual confidence was gone, replaced by frustration and something that looked almost like respect. Honored counselors, these humans, do not fight like any enemy we have faced. They use tactics that should not work, and they never stop adapting to our strategies. Captain Danny Rodriguez was proving the Admiral's point at that very moment. He was leading a raid on an alien supply convoy using ships that were mostly held together with spare parts and human determination. His fleet consisted of mining vessels, cargo haulers, and pleasure craft that had been converted into warships by desperate engineers. Remember, we hit fast and get out faster, Danny told his pilots. We're not trying to destroy their whole fleet. We just need to slow them down and take whatever supplies we can carry. The attack came from 3 directions at once, with human ships appearing from behind asteroids where no military commander would think to hide. The aliens advanced. Sensors were designed to detect proper warships, not retrofitted mining equipment that barely registered on their instruments. Contact left, contact right, contact above, reported the alien convoy commander. Where did they come from? Before the aliens could respond effectively, the human ships had already grabbed what they needed and scattered back into the asteroid field. Danny's people had learned that the best way to fight a superior enemy was to never give them a proper target. Back on Earth, engineer Nicole Thompson was working in a hidden facility that had once been a subway tunnel. The underground laboratory was protected from alien bombardment, and it had become one of humanity's most important research centers. Nicole had been studying alien technology for months, and she was finally starting to understand how it worked. The key is their power distribution system, she explained to her team. They use a central core that feeds energy to all their ship systems. If we can overload that core, the whole ship shuts down. Her assistant, Dr. Peter Liu, looked at the crude device Nicole had built. This looks like something we made in high school science class. Sometimes the simple solutions are the best ones, Nicole replied. They've built their technology to be perfect and efficient. They never considered that someone might attack it with something this basic. The device Nicole had created was indeed simple. A modified human electromagnetic pulse generator that could be fired from a standard missile. It wouldn't destroy an alien ship, but it would shut down its power systems long enough for human fighters to escape or attack. Dr. Nix Rowe was discovering just how effective human ingenuity could be when she studied the wreckage of alien ships that had been disabled by these primitive weapons. Commander Zethka, the humans have found a fundamental weakness in our technology that we never knew existed. How is that possible? Zethka asked. Our ships are designed by the greatest engineers in the galaxy. That is exactly the problem, Dr. Nix Rowe replied. Our engineers think like us. They assume their enemies will also think logically and use advanced technology. The humans think in ways that make no sense to us, so they find solutions we never considered. The breaking point for many in the Galactic Council came when they learned about Corporal Ryan Miller. Ryan had been defending a civilian evacuation site when a full alien assault force attacked his position. He was alone, armed with weapons that were laughably inferior to what the aliens carried, and he had no hope of survival. Any rational being would have retreated or surrendered. Instead, Ryan held his position for 3 days, fighting continuously against overwhelming odds. He didn't do it because he thought he could win. He did it because every hour he delayed the aliens was another hour for the civilians to get to safety. When the aliens finally overran his position, they found Ryan at his post, still fighting with a damaged rifle and nearly out of ammunition. He had been wounded multiple times, but had never left his position. The aliens who found him were so impressed by his courage that they gave him a warrior's funeral, even though he was their enemy. Captain Vorth reported this incident to the council with obvious confusion. Honored counselors, this human fought for 3 days with no hope of victory and no possibility of survival. He did not fight to win. He fought to give meaning to his sacrifice. The council chamber fell silent as the implications of this sank in. Delegate Flux Ann of the Aquarians finally spoke. He fought not because he could win, but because fighting was the right thing to do. That is insane, said Counselor Tekra. Is it? Flux Ann asked. Or is it something we have forgotten in our long peace? The debate that followed split the council more deeply than any issue in centuries. Some members argued that humans were too dangerous to be allowed to survive. Others began to wonder if the humans possessed something valuable that the galaxy had lost. High Counselor Methzar found himself questioning decisions he had been certain about just months before. Dr. Nix Rowe, in your professional opinion, what drives these humans to fight impossible battles? Dr. Nix Rowe had been preparing for this question. Honored Counselor, I believe they fight because they have found a way to create meaning from suffering itself. Other species fight to avoid pain, or to gain something. Humans sometimes fight simply because the fight has meaning, even if they lose. The final breaking point came when Master Sergeant Tony Davis led what everyone knew was a suicide mission against the alien flagship. Tony had volunteered to fly a small ship loaded with explosives directly into the most heavily defended vessel in the alien fleet. Everyone knew he would not survive, but Tony went anyway. The mission wasn't designed to destroy the flagship, which was too heavily armored for Tony's small ship to damage seriously. Instead, Tony's job was to get close enough to broadcast a message throughout the alien fleet. The message was simple, but it would change everything. To the alien fleet, Tony said as his ship flew through a storm of enemy fire. We know you think we should surrender because we can't win this war. But you don't understand us yet. We're not fighting because we think we can win. We're fighting because this is our home, and our freedom, and our future. We'll never stop fighting for those things, no matter what the odds are. Tony's ship was destroyed moments after he finished the broadcast, but his message reached every alien vessel in the fleet. For the first time, The aliens heard directly from a human who was about to die by choice, not by accident or defeat. The message spread through the alien ranks like wildfire. Even the most hardened alien warriors found themselves thinking about what they had heard. Here was a species that chose death over surrender, not out of stupidity or fanaticism, but out of love for their home and their values. Dr. Nix Rowe was monitoring alien communications when she noticed something unprecedented. "Commander, morale in the fleet is declining. Some ships are reporting that their crews are questioning the mission." "Questioning how?" Zethka asked. "They are asking whether destroying a species that fights with such honor is the right thing to do." For the first time since the war began, the aliens were starting to doubt whether they were the good ones in this conflict. The war had lasted more than a year, and the alien crew aboard the Nexus Prime was no longer the same group that had first encountered humanity. Commander Zethka stood on his bridge, watching the latest battle reports with growing unease. What was supposed to be a simple conquest had become something that challenged everything he believed about warfare and civilization. "Commander, we are receiving a distress signal," reported Dr. Nix Rowe. "It appears to be from one of our transport ships." Zethka looked at the tactical display. The transport ship Harmony's Gift was drifting dead in space, its engines destroyed, and life support failing. On board were 300 alien civilians, including many young ones who had been evacuating from a research station that humans had attacked. "Send a rescue ship immediately," Zethka ordered. "Sir, there is a problem," said Captain Vorth. "The ship is in human-controlled space. Any rescue attempt will be detected by their patrol vessels." Before Zethka could respond, a new contact appeared on their sensors. A human ship was approaching the disabled alien vessel. It was the Valley Forge, commanded by Captain Paul Stevens, one of the most effective human commanders in the war. "They are moving to attack the defenseless transport," Captain Vorth said grimly. "The humans show their true nature at last." But something unexpected happened. Instead of attacking, the Valley Forge moved alongside the alien transport and began extending docking tubes. Captain Stevens opened a communication channel that was broadcast across the entire alien fleet. "Alien vessel Harmony's Gift. This is Captain Paul Stevens of the Earth ship Valley Forge. We detect that your life support is failing. We are offering medical assistance and safe passage for your civilians." The alien transport captain was too shocked to respond immediately. Dr. Nix Rowe stared at her instruments in disbelief. "Commander, the human ship is providing power to keep the alien life support systems running. They are saving the lives of their enemies." Captain Stevens's voice came over the radio again. "We know you have non-combatants on board, including children. Our medical teams are standing by to help. We give you our word that no harm will come to your people." Captain Vorth could not understand what he was seeing. "This makes no tactical sense. They should take prisoners or gather intelligence. Instead, they offer aid to those who are trying to destroy their world." The alien transport captain finally found his voice. "Human vessel, why do you help us? We are your enemies." Captain Stevens was quiet for a moment before answering. "Because those are children on your ship, and because we're human. We don't let kids die if we can prevent it, no matter whose kids they are." For the next 6 hours, human medical teams worked alongside alien crew members to save lives on the damaged transport. They shared their food, their medical supplies, and their technical knowledge. When the repairs were complete, Captain Stevens personally escorted the alien ship to the edge of human space and wished them safe journey home. The entire rescue was broadcast throughout the alien fleet, and every alien who saw it was forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. The species they were trying to destroy had just shown more mercy to alien children than the aliens had shown to human cities. Dr. Nix Rowe was analyzing the communications from the rescue when she made a discovery that would change everything. "Commander Zethka, I have been studying human behavior throughout this war, and I believe I finally understand what makes them different." "Explain," Zethka said. We assumed that human endurance came from stubbornness or aggression, Dr. Nixrow said. But I was wrong. Human endurance comes from their ability to find hope and maintain their values even in the darkest circumstances. Brought up recordings from the rescue mission on her screen. Look at Captain Stevens. His planet is being destroyed, his people are dying, and he has every reason to hate us. But when he found alien children in danger, he risked his own ship. To save them, that is not the behavior of a savage species. Captain Vorth was struggling with his own doubts. But they fought us from the beginning. They chose violence over peace. Did they? Dr. Nixrow asked. Or did we fail to communicate properly? I have been reviewing our first contact, and I realize now that our translation made our peaceful greeting sound like a demand for surrender. From their perspective, we threatened them first. The debate that followed spread beyond the Nexus Prime to ships throughout the alien fleet. Soldiers who had been fighting humans for over a year were beginning to see them not as monsters, but as people defending their home with incredible courage and honor. High Counselor Methzar received the reports from the front lines with growing concern. Fleet Admiral Krondar, what is the current state of morale in your forces? The Admiral's image on the screen looked tired and troubled. Honored Counselor, many of my officers are questioning whether we are the aggressors in this conflict. The humans have shown honor and mercy that we did not expect. They are still fighting us, Methzar pointed out. Yes, but they fight to defend their home, not to conquer ours. And when they had the chance to harm our civilians, they chose to save them instead. What does that say about us? That we came to destroy an entire species without trying harder to understand them. The breaking point for the Galactic Council came when Delegate Flux Ann presented evidence that the first contact incident had been a tragic misunderstanding. Better translation equipment had finally decoded the original human and alien messages, revealing that both sides had been trying to communicate peace. We went to war because of a translation error, Flux Ann told the stunned assembly. The humans never chose violence over peace. They chose defense over submission to what they thought was a threat. High Counselor Methzar sat in silence for a long time after hearing this news. Around him, other council members were having heated discussions about what to do next. Finally, the ancient Valerian stood to address the assembly. We have made a terrible mistake, he said quietly. We judged an entire species based on a misunderstanding, and then we tried to destroy them when they showed courage in defending themselves. The question now is, what do we do about it? Counselor Tekra spoke first. We cannot undo what has been done. Too much blood has been spilled on both sides. But we can stop the killing, Flux Ann argued. We can try to make peace with a species that has shown they value mercy even toward their enemies. The vote to end the war was closer than anyone expected, but it passed. For the first time in Council history, they voted to cease hostilities against a species that was still actively fighting them. Commander Zeth Ka was chosen to deliver the ceasefire offer personally. As his ship approached Earth, he thought about everything that had happened since that first disastrous encounter. The humans had taught the galaxy something important, that true strength came not from the ability to destroy, but from the ability to remain decent even when facing destruction. The meeting took place on Luna, in a hastily constructed neutral facility. Ambassador Sarah Mitchell and Dr. Andrew Kim represented Earth, while Commander Zeth Ka spoke for the Galactic Council. We come to offer peace, Zeth Ka said as soon as the meeting began. We have learned that our war began with a misunderstanding, and we have seen that humanity possesses qualities that we should have respected rather than feared. Ambassador Mitchell was cautious. What assurance do we have that this isn't another trap? Only our word, Zeth Ka replied, and the knowledge that we have learned something from you that we had forgotten, that the strongest people are not those who never fall, but those who refuse to stay down. You have endured what should have broken any species, and you did it. while still showing kindness to your enemies. Dr. Kim leaned forward. What happens now? Now we learn from each other, Zeth-Ka said. You have shown us that endurance and hope can overcome any obstacle. Perhaps we can teach you about the wider galaxy that awaits you. The peace treaty was signed 3 days later. As Commander Zeth-Ka prepared to return to his ship, Ambassador Mitchell asked him one final question. What made you change your minds? About us? Zeth-Ka considered his answer carefully. We thought endurance meant the ability to survive anything. You taught us that true endurance means surviving anything while still remaining worthy of survival. And so humanity took its first steps toward joining a galaxy that had learned an important lesson. Sometimes the greatest strength comes not from those who conquer, but from those who refuse to let even the darkest circumstances destroy their humanity.